Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Database Management webinar. Thanks very much for taking the time to join us this morning. My name is Julian Bonham. I head up the database services here within Node4. We're going to talk you through the way in which we support our customers for their databases, the challenges that our customers are facing, how we deliver our service model, and the importance of the additional services such as security and DevOps and so on that link into the database services. So first of all, just want to check that everybody can hear me okay and that the presentation is showing on their screens. If there are any problems, please raise them via the Q&A button that you'll find in the bottom right corner of the screen. So assuming everything's okay and we don't get any messages, I'll press on. So just to highlight instantly, if you do have any questions that you want to raise, we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So please do raise any questions as the presentation goes on. So first of all, if we look at the database landscape as of today versus going back maybe 15 years or so. Going back 15 years, the landscape was very, very different. It was really a choice for enterprises between Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, and IBM DB2, and then there were a couple of other choices. But effectively, customers in the enterprise and the way in which they used databases, they really were quite restricted, and hence applications were very much driven towards just a couple of database platforms. If we now wind that forward to the current day, the whole Gartner Quadrant, it's a lot busier. Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, yes, they're very much up there and the leaders in terms of the main usage. But behind them, there are a lot of new entrants, a lot within the NoSQL space, a lot of emerging technologies where it's recognized that actually other database platforms provide a very good use case for technologies that are outside of that core technology stack. So this, of course, presents a problem or at least a challenge to customers in how they then support a more diverse mix of technologies and how they can really deliver a service level back to the business to make sure that they've got performance of application and availability of skills on a 24/7 basis. If we look at sort of the market forces and really what's driving that change of technology usage and the increase in different options, there are a number of key facets. Of course, an obvious one is the fact that the platforms and the hosting of the environments is now different. They're cloud platforms that are widely used, or customers are using a combination of on-premise and cloud, or maybe a hybrid type model. The type of data is different. The volumes of data is different. So very often customers are faced with looking after a lot of unstructured data. It's data that doesn't necessarily lend itself particularly well to relational databases. And again, this causes a shift for customers to look at databases which are more suited to specific use cases. Coupled with that, the way in which applications are developed or managed within the enterprise, that's so much different now as well, in the speed of change or the demand for speed for change is enormous, and there's a much kind of quicker iterative model in terms of the way that applications are developed and new code is deployed. This creates a huge demand on the database administrators and making sure that the platform remains available and fully optimized. And again, this all creates this big increasing challenge and volume of workload, but diverse workload on the DBAs, which really is quite different to how it used to be sort of 10, 15 years ago. We did a bit of analysis recently on the number of DBA roles which are advertised in the marketplace, and we did this because, just anecdotally, we're constantly looking for new DBAs to join the team here at Node4. And we find it increasingly difficult to find good quality candidates and candidates that have got the right level of experience and breadth of background of really working within complex production environments. So the graph there on the left, that shows the trend in terms of adverts for DBA roles. You can see it is going down quite substantially. And we asked candidates, particularly newer sort of up and coming DBAs, why they've gone into the DBA role and what it is that's attracted to them. And we can see quite clearly that the market at the moment in terms of new technical skills and where new graduates want to kind of focus their attention, very often it's more within a development type environment or sort of DevOps type environment. It's very much application focused as opposed to the back-end database and the administration of databases, which is creating this sort of this void, this dearth of technical skills which are available. However, the reality is that those skills are ever more necessary. Database environments are getting more and more complex. The volume of data is forever increasing. And irrespective of where those databases are hosted, whether it's within an on-premise environment or in a cloud platform, the reality is that the databases will need that feeding and watering and constant tuning. So that need for that DBA role is still very much there. And ultimately, it's just it's a bit of a shift in terms of what the DBA is actually delivering, but it's still absolutely imperative in terms of making sure that the applications are fully optimized for the business. So within Node4 and the skills that we have here, we've really developed our service model to be multi-platform. Of course, we've got SQL Server and Oracle skills, which are very much at the forefront of what we do on a day-to-day basis within our hosting environment and across our customer base as a whole. There's a huge amount of SQL Server and Oracle-based environments and customers of all shapes and sizes. We've equally got a very strong capability across MySQL. Of course, that's a business that was acquired by Oracle, but there's still an awful lot of sort of developer-led activity around MySQL. And then importantly, we've developed a strong capability around a couple of the emerging NoSQL platforms as well. So I'm sure many of you on the call will be aware that there's been a lot of noise around NoSQL and how it can start to really take some of the market share away from some of the more traditional relational database platforms. However, when you cut through all of that noise, and from our experience and where we've seen the dust settle, it really comes down to, at the moment, it's MongoDB and Couchbase where it seems to be that there's a strong market presence and commercial offering from those platforms. So we've developed our service level agreements from a consulting and managed service perspective to operate in exactly the same way for all of those technologies. So whether a customer is using just SQL Server or just Oracle or a blend of 2, 3 or 4 of those technologies there, we're able to deliver the same 24/7 service level agreement irrespective of the database platform. So forgetting all of the complexities of what the DBA team are delivering on a day-by-day basis, what our service mix boils down to is effectively consulting services to help a customer for any requirement where they just need to plug a skills gap. It may be a short-term kind of tuning requirement through to a longer-term bit of project management stroke development activity. Thereafter, our DBAs are very busy delivering 24/7 managed services, which we'll talk about in a little while. And we also provide license optimization services as well. That's very much inherent within the Oracle work that we do, because very often we find that the way in which an environment is licensed really does drive the way in which we would architect a system and ultimately support a system. So it's actually a very simple service mix. It's consulting, it's managed services. It affords the customer an awful lot of flexibility in terms of how they can really access our services and fit those services around their own internal technical team. It's important to note that, of course, Node4 is a managed hosting provider. We've got a very strong network capability and 4 data centers across the UK. So, we of course, as a business, we're driving managed services within our hosting environment and the Node4 cloud on a day-to-day basis. But from a database management perspective, we're entirely platform independent. So we've customers that are very traditional in terms of on-premise deployments through to true out-and-out cloud environments. And very often nowadays we're finding customers have more of a hybrid type model where they've got a combination of systems which are on-prem or in the cloud or within a managed data center type environment. So from a DBA management perspective, our service model is effective to work across any of those platforms. And again, it affords our customers that flexibility of knowing that those resources are available wherever their data is located. So if we look at a bit more of the detail around our consulting services, first of all, the consultants that we have, they're very experienced in really running the whole life cycle of a project. So whether that's from the initial inception of a project where we're qualifying the environment and we're doing the high-level design work around how an environment and system can be built, through to the then implementation and often the migration of existing data or system intelligence from other databases, through to then the in-life services where we'll be providing point-in-time performance management expertise and disaster recovery, for example, or whatever that point-in-time requirement might be. And often then we'll get pulled into more of a strategic consulting type role, and an area that's been very busy for us over the past couple of years is a service model called Rethink, which we devised a couple of years ago. And it allows us to go into a customer environment and really help that customer work out what it is that they need to do with their databases over the medium term. So we often find that we go into customers where they've got a sprawling database estate and things have grown organically over a period of time. There comes a point where it's advantageous to then look at that database estate, work out what can be rationalized, how it can be put into a more sensible service model, and ultimately reduce down the cost, not just of the support of the environment, but often on the licensing as well. So this then ties in often to compliance type considerations, and a lot of customers nowadays are talking to us about GDPR and how they can make sure that they're not going to get caught out in a couple of months' time. And it's really working around that whole strategic consulting type model. So it's not just the sort of the black and white type tuning activity that we're delivering. It's very much helping our customers to make sure that they're getting the best out of their investments in the database technologies. Just to lead on from that, and a very, very common type service that we're providing is often around SQL Server consolidation. As I just mentioned, so many of the customers that we go in to see now that have got estates which have grown very rapidly over a period of time, and often applications will just simply be deployed on a per instance, per server type model. This then results in a server sprawl within the customer environment. It's difficult to manage, it's expensive, it's difficult to keep track of from a licensing and compliance perspective. So a lot of the work that our SQL Server DBAs will get involved with is helping the customer to really rationalize that estate and just pare it down into what is often a much simpler model for support. It may involve deploying an AAG cluster, for example, or some form of replicated environment, and really cutting down a lot of that infrastructure that a customer needs. So lots of advantages in terms of vendor support model, cost model, and so on going forwards. From an Oracle point of view, often, as I mentioned, that the licensing considerations very much drive the way in which a customer would look to get maximum value from their Oracle investments. Everyone on this call that uses Oracle will be aware that it's often an expensive licensed product. So it's often one of the key products within an IT infrastructure. However, our DBAs, they need to be very cognizant of the fact that there are a number of areas where our customers can easily get caught out in terms of some of the newer features that are available, whether that's the multi-tenancy feature or advanced security feature, which often customers will look at and install these, or even maybe install some of these options on a default basis. And that can lead to significant challenges further down the line in terms of license compliance and customers being exposed to additional costs which aren't budgeted for. So working with our customers in making sure that they're fully aware of the way in which Oracle license or require systems to be licensed is a big value to what we provide around the whole consulting piece. And ultimately make sure that customers then have systems which are deployed on environments which are properly licensed and within the right cost model. And just to finalise that point, of course, virtualization is a key consideration from an Oracle point of view. And whilst many IT environments really benefit from virtualization and VMware, there is the perennial problem with Oracle on VMware, which needs to be worked around and make sure that the customer has really fully understood the way in which the licensing will work across vCenter, for example, making sure that there isn't an unnecessary exposure there. So leading on from the consulting services, and big part of the work that the DBAs are delivering here in Node4 is within the managed service team. So this is effectively a 24/7 outsourced managed service agreement. And of course, from an outsourcing perspective, there's very often a very clear cost consideration, whereby if we look at the cost of a single DBA, it's quite a rough and ready model on the screen there. But if we took an average salary, and DBAs are typically quite expensive resources within the business, but a single DBA can only be available for a proportion of the time that's required to run systems on a 24/7 basis. So often now customers are needing to have systems available for a full 24/7 basis. This necessitates the need for multiple DBAs, but it also requires monitoring software to allow those DBAs to get the right intelligence out of the systems and understand what it is that they're needing to look at and where bottlenecks are appearing and so on. So layer up all of those costs in terms of multiple DBAs and additional software and training and etc. It becomes an expensive part of the service model within a customer in how they then support the databases. So that cost model is often a big driver for outsourcing of DBA services. Although, to be fair, there are many other considerations which we'll touch on later on. Within our managed service, a key facet for us is the onboarding. This is something we really go to town on. That slide there, it looks a little bit busy, but effectively it's to show that we really do a top-to-bottom process-driven onboarding exercise, whereby we'll really get into the environment, make sure that we've understood the current systems, how they're performing, come up with an optimization plan across all of the databases that we're then supporting. And then once we've agreed that we've got systems in an optimized state, we deploy our monitoring services, we tune our monitoring, we make sure we're getting really good intelligence back from all of those monitoring alerts. And effectively, that works well for the customer because it means that they're comfortable that there's a good solid baseline that's been delivered against their environments. But it equally works well for us because we know then that any alerts that we are going to receive, they're not erroneous. We are getting good quality information back from our monitoring, and we can take all of the necessary remediation tasks to make sure that systems remain fully optimized and available for the customer. From a day-to-day delivery perspective, in terms of how we then deliver our managed service, it's a combination of reactive and proactive service, but we've got the help desk, which is available on a 24/7 basis. We offer all of our customers unlimited access to the help desk, so there's no sort of limitation in terms of usage. A key facet of managed service is the Engine DB monitoring. So it's an advanced monitoring platform that we've developed in-house. It's designed to work across all of the database platforms that we support and equally across different hosting platforms. and it effectively allows us to deliver a constant ongoing health check against the databases that we're supporting. One of the questions that customers always ask us is how we then deploy our monitoring. It's agentless, so there's no software that we just install into our customer environment. We simply use a management server within the customer DMZ. We hook in via a VPN and then just hook into the target databases, and we can pin things down very securely. So it's a really nice clean model. It means that it's effective in terms of really helping to kind of carve out that DBA need within our customer systems. So just to expand on that slightly, the way in which monitoring works, we've got our master monitoring servers hosted within Node4 data centers. It's across dual data center infrastructure, so it's entirely resilient. And then it is literally a case of then just hooking into the target databases via a VPN. So we've got to be very conscious from a security perspective, as you'd imagine, and we're working with customers that sit within the central government sector, the financial services sector, equally US-based pharmaceutical companies. So, very litigious type organisations. They have very, very stringent security considerations, and we have to actively work around all of those considerations for our customers. So that methodology in terms of deployment for monitoring is very key for us, and something that we find works very effectively for our customers. And then it's all about the tuning, and this is a constant iterative process, and we task our DBAs here to really take ownership of the performance of the systems that they're allocated in terms of their cluster of customers that they look after. So we're effectively working through that constant iterative process. But once we've done the benchmark, we're reviewing the performance, we're then constantly tuning, and then we go through that process again and again. So we can really start to pin down the performance at a sort of an index and a query level, making sure that the database is fully tuned, but equally making sure that the way that the application then interfaces into the database, that everything's working in an optimal fashion. So it's that peace of mind that we give to our customers, that even our customers that have had internal DBAs or maybe an internal team that looks after database administration previously, they constantly tell us that they struggle to really find the time to do that constant tuning, because of course internal teams are busy being pulled into other projects and other business generative type activities. So often it's difficult to see the wood from the trees from an internal end user perspective, whereby our DBAs, all they're focused on is just making sure that databases are fully tuned on an ongoing basis. Then of course there's a lot of nitty gritty stuff that the DBAs are doing as well. So backup management is often a key consideration for all of our customers, and where we pin down a very tight service level around making sure that backups have been successful. More than that, part of our onboarding process is really making sure that the backup processes that are in place are fit for purpose. We look at the RPO and RTO that customers need as a business, and then if needs be, we'll then redesign the backup processes, make sure that they are fit for purpose for the customer. And really make sure that that there's that assurance in terms of availability in the event of any outage for all of our customers. Just to pick up on the earlier point as well around the multi-platform expertise that we have, and whether we're on-prem or across clouds, we're equally doing a lot of backup management now for customers where they're running systems across Azure or AWS EC2, and pushing out backups into public cloud platforms. So again, it's a nice kind of additional service layer that bolts onto the traditional DBA layer that we're providing. And then security is absolutely baked in to what we do. We're fully ISO 27001 accredited. Every one of the DBAs within the team here are security cleared. We have to be because of the central government work that we get involved with. So there's some very, very sensitive data in there. But it does mean that any customer, any new customer that we're talking to, where they have that initial concern around security, we're able to cover all of those questions. And I think it's very much part and parcel as well of the whole Node4 model that we have here, that the DBA services they link in very, very closely to the SOC services, and really sort of developing that security layer around the DBA piece is very advantageous for our customers. I mentioned earlier around GDPR. It's something that our customers are asking us more and more about. A lot of the initial engagement work that we're doing with new customers now is based around their compliance, where their data is located, whether or not they are going to be caught out from a GDPR perspective. And again, this links in very well with the kind of the overall SOC services that are available within Node4. And then to recap in terms of why our customers tell us that they outsource their DBA function, and just to emphasise that outsource word, it's often a case of our customers will use us on often a more of a co-sourcing type basis, where we're working with their internal team and providing a third line expertise. So our service model, as described, it works very well whether a customer needs us to have full first line responsibility, where we're delivering a true out and out 24/7 managed service, through to other customers that use us more on an ad hoc basis as sort of critical issue escalation. But across all of those considerations, our customers tell us that their main thought process for bringing in Node4 as a provider, it's often based around cost savings that we mentioned earlier. But more than that, it's around the access to the technical expertise that's needed. It's making sure that they can really drive the service level agreement across the systems for their business, and ultimately allow them to focus on their business. So let the internal staff get on with more business generative activities. Often that will be more in the realms of business intelligence, for example, or developing the strategy for resilience across the environment. And then we're brought in to really take that headache away of managing the databases, and ultimately it saves a lot of recruitment headaches for our customers. We've got numerous very strong customer testimonials. This is something that we actively encourage any new customer to talk to a number of our existing customers. Whilst I'm not going to read out the content there, we get proactively told by customers on a relatively frequent basis that we're doing an extremely good job for them, and I don't think we're doing anything particularly complex or sort of revolutionary in terms of the way that the service model works, other than the fact we've just really focused on creating the database services with the best quality DBA expertise that's available. An excellent monitoring platform that's constantly being evolved, and then linking in the wider portfolio of Node4 skills, whether that's security based or whether it's DevOps focused, so that we can really help a customer in driving the way that they are managing and deploying their systems. So whether that's on-prem or using our DevOps capability to help customers with auto deployments across cloud platforms, all of that links in perfectly then to the ongoing service model for DBA management. And the final slide of the presentation, we are offering for a limited period of time a reduced price database health check. It is a full-blown health check, so it's not just a lightweight health check, but effectively for a reduced cost of just £995, we'll go in, deliver a full top-to-bottom performance review against the database of any of the technologies that we support. It's available until the end of February, and we're doing this ultimately because we're keen for new customers to just put us to the test. So check that that we've got the right level of technical expertise. More than that, make sure that we're right business fit in terms of the way we operate and the type of people that you'll be working with from a technical perspective. So we'd welcome any of the webinar viewers today to contact us to take advantage of this and let us prove ourselves. So I'm just going to check now with the marketing guys on this side, just see if we've got any questions in. I'm just going to go on mute. So we've got a couple of questions. The first one is, what type of business and size of business do we work with? We work with customers of all shapes and sizes. So we've got customers which often sit within the application development space, so ISVs. Sometimes they're quite small businesses, but they've got very critical sort of data management type requirements and complex deployment type environments, up to multinational FTSE 100 businesses where we're supporting very large estates across multiple environments. We're equally supporting environments outside of the UK and outside of Europe. We do a lot of work now with customers in the US. We've got customers out in the Middle East and up in Scandinavia as well. So in terms of the size and shape of customer that we're supporting, it's a very, very mixed bag. But the key denominator across all of those customers is that they have critical database availability requirements, and they've got often application environments that are quite dynamic, and that they really need to have that tuning delivered across the databases on an ongoing basis. The other question that we've had in is the managed services that Node4 provide, are they flexible, or do customers have to commit to a minimum contract term? We're entirely flexible. I think one of the key benefits of working with Node4 and where Node4 are, ultimately a hosting type business and very much within the cloud services arena, we're entirely mindful of the fact that customers now use databases in a different type of model. And going back a couple of years where a customer would be expected to tie themselves into a 2 or 3 year fixed term contract, that really doesn't work well for today's service model and the way in which customers need to have access to skills very quickly, but often there's a need to ramp services up and down pretty quickly based on activities around development streams and so on. So our contract terms, they're very much based on the flexibility, working with customers whereby they've got access to the skills for the period of time that they need. So there's another question just in. We need a new account system this year. Do we need to use the same platform as our CRM system? It entirely depends on the applications which are in use. Of course, from a CRM, an account system, there'll be multiple database platforms which are available. So yeah, it will be a case of really working with your apps vendors. I would say if you have a particular bent towards one database platform, it may be prudent to look towards that database platform so you've got commonality. But ultimately, as was described at the outset of the presentation, in terms of getting access to the skills, be that via Node4 or alternative models, that cross-database platform is entirely there. It's available in terms of skills for supporting multiple databases for multiple applications. So I'm just going to check with marketing. Any other questions? No others. So I think that's it. Thanks all for attending. Appreciate your time this morning. And please do contact us if there are any other questions, or if you'd like to take advantage of the database health check offer. Thank you.